So I'm curious, when you were head of content at Grizzle, what were some of those big lessons that you learned, or observations, or light bulb moments?
Yeah, so a lot of businesses, and this happens with people too, they have so much that they want to talk about, and they aren't quite sure how to navigate all of that knowledge into a way that's going to make sense for people to digest. Like, so I've got all this experience, or I've got this product that does all these things, and I've got all these trends I want to talk about. And it's like, how do I create content then that's going to drive awareness to my business, that's going to actually convert people and retain them? You shouldn't just use keyword research to figure out what your audience wants. You have to actually know what they want. But then how do you communicate with them and match their intent, and say it in a way that is creative? When it comes to actually writing it down and implementing it, again, like, people really struggle with, how do I keep this draft just about one idea? When it goes through editorial, there was always a lot of like, okay, how do we take this back to the client and say, look, we need to cut this entire section. And it's nothing against this idea or these words. It's beautifully written, but we can't use it because it's not related to this, and it's going to add friction and confuse the reader. But you can put in another article and like go deeper in that way. It all comes down to organizing ideas and thoughts. You need somebody to hear your brain dump and then be like, okay, bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, and then an implementation. Oh, okay, you accidentally took a bit from bucket 2 into bucket 1, like, let's keep them separate. The reading experience needs to be cohesive, and the narrative needs to be about one idea, and that is something that is very difficult for everyone. One of the best ways to do it is with owned data. So third-party data is interesting, but if you have your own case studies, or you've run your own surveys where you can apply that knowledge and it's like truly unique to a piece, that is one of the best ways to have a unique angle to something, and then have something that you can actually back it up and prove it with. But if you don't have that, another really great way is just storytelling. So how did you help a certain customer, or how would you help a certain customer overcome something, and then how can you insert your product or your service into that story in a way where that's kind of like the solution throughout, as opposed to having like a final H2 where it's like, here's how we can help. Like, you kind of intersperse it throughout the draft.